Hi everyone, welcome back to RTS and welcome back to Paper Pad Party. Yes, it's playtime. Yes, we are absolutely going to play in our mini series of Record December, and today we're actually going to build our layouts. It's going to be very simple, very quick, very fun. Yes. Now there's a couple things I want to talk about before we start working on our layouts, and one is going to be about photo setup, and the other thing is that if you notice in my kit, what did I have? I had a paper pad, and then I had a couple supplies, you know, and then of course I pulled out my metallic silver color bins. And so if you notice with that is that I don't have any Christmas packaging and themed embellishments, that type of thing. Because why? Because everything is still packed away. Okay, now why am I talking about that? And it's simply because I got the question when we were organizing our paper pads. I got asked the question several times, why would I not have my themed paper pads in with my other themed papers and embellishments and that type of thing? And I'll tell you, the answer to that question is because several years ago I ran into the problem where I wanted to do a Christmas or a holiday or a fall themed page, and everything was packed away. So at least if all I have is my paper pad, I already have all these other tools with my other tools. They're not packed away with my Christmas or Thanksgiving or fall. And so I could still create a page even though I didn't have things, you know, as far as my themed supplies, I didn't have them out, if that makes sense. So I wanted to cover that. So when you are organizing your paper pads, and of course, you know, I have my little mini catalog, and I'll have the video linked below. And so then I just referenced this, and I knew a few years ago that I was not scrapping Christmas at all in December because I didn't have time to pull out my supplies, okay? Because it takes a little bit of work to move 4 things to get a couple boxes, okay? And so I knew I had to change that up. And so it's okay to have your supplies in one place and have a representation of supplies in another place. And I wanted to say that. I love having my Thanksgiving / fall and Christmas paper pads in with my others because I can still play. You can always add in red, white, black, silver, gold, and still create a Christmas page. I wanted to talk about that, okay? So don't be afraid to break things up. No, because my kit, I don't have any packages of Christmas embellishments. No, I'm just going to rely on color, which is my metallic. Okay, I wanted to say that. Now, the second thing we're going to talk about, now let me move all this for a minute, and you can look at some of my pretty papers that I'm going to use. Absolutely. And I think if I counted right, I think right off the bat, I pulled 13 papers from that paper pad. Oh, that rocks. Okay, but we'll talk about that in just a minute. But I want to talk about photo setup, because before you start selecting papers from your paper pad, I thought it would be better if you had a visual of how your photos may look on your page. That way you can get an idea of what type of design you may want to use for your papers. Not that any paper wouldn't work, but you know what I'm saying. Okay, so here are my templates, and you absolutely, and I know when I'm creating this type of pages, of course, you know, with classes and things like that, I use a lot of templates because that way you don't cut up paper until you need to. So photo placement is the biggest thing we need to focus on in this, because I'll talk about that right now. In most December daily albums, what they do is they create a little mini page for each day. Well, we're certainly not going to do that. What we're going to do is we're going to take 31 days of December and we're going to divide it into 4 pages, okay? Two page spreads, so 4 pages. And so if you take 31 divided by 4, you're roughly going to get 8. So we're going to focus on 8 photos per page times 4, okay? Now, if you're an 8.5 by 11 scrapbooker, if you take your 31 and divide it by 6 pages, because that's what you're going to do, and I'll talk about that in just a minute, you're going to focus on about 5 photos per page, okay? And we'll talk about that. So I wanted to show you, when it comes to photo size, I wanted to show a couple of different options, because scrapbooking is not a one-size-fits-all. There are so many variations, and so just because even though I'm going to show something, you don't have to do it that way. You can absolutely make it to according to your style. So what my plan is, of course, you know, we're going to do 31 photos, and I'm going to talk about that 31 photos in just a minute, okay? And so my concept, what I'm going to do for my 4 pages is that I'm going to be doing 8 photos. Okay, you say, well, there's only 31 days, and if you do 32, that's an extra. Well, you know what? I'm sure I'll have 32 photos, or I'll show you something else down in the next couple of videos, what you can do if you don't want to do that. Okay, if you just simply want to do 31. But we'll talk about that in just a minute. Okay, so just say this is my page, but we're going to talk about photo setup because I think that would help you get a visual before you start selecting your papers. Okay, and because this is what I did myself. Okay, so here are my 8 photos, and for me, and if you wanted to do a 31 photos on 4 pages, you're going to have to work in wallet size. I'm not saying you have to. I'm going to show you some options, but wallet size. And so this is 2.5 by 3.5, and this will actually be my mat. I'm going to be matting my photos. Have a little something fun for that, so hang on for that. And I'm hoping I'm in frame. Okay, so this will be my setup. Okay, now if you notice, these are 2.5 by 3.5 mats. Okay, you can simply go ahead and pre-cut these if you know you want to do a mat for your photos. And then what you do when you print out your wallets, you just cut them down a sliver to fit your 2.5 by 3.5 mats. That's what I'm going to do, but you don't have to. So you'll notice that I have 6 in the vertical and 2 in the horizontal. Why? Because that is my style. I snap more vertical shots than I do horizontal, but I have to keep room for a couple horizontal shots. Okay, so this is the Record December how I'm going to do it. Okay, but you don't have to. You can arrange these 8 photos in whichever way you want. Okay, but I wanted you to get a visual as you're picking papers, because you know we're going to work with a 12 by 12 landscape, and you're going to notice right there, if you take a look there, those 8 photos are going to take up most of your landscape, and so that's why this is going to be an easy project. We're going to focus on the memory, not the product. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. Okay, so that's what you see here is what I'm going to do times 4. Okay, now on my right page, it's going to be, you know, this way. Okay, because I'm making a spread, so that's how that'll look. This would be the right page. Okay, and so that will be 16 photos per spread with a bonus. Okay, but what you can do is if you want to get a visual how your photos will do, you can absolutely create some mats and play around. You may be someone who is just totally a horizontal gal. Okay, and you can simply, because there are some people who don't like vertical shots, you can simply move them around. Okay, and do it like this. Okay, again, since we are going to do a 4-page spread, if you're interested in that, we're going to have to be working with wallets. Okay, but that doesn't mean you have to. Okay, so that is just a visual of how we're going to do that, and you can configure your photos however you wish. Okay, now if you didn't want to do wallet size, because there are some people who they only print in 4 by 6. Okay, and so what I will be doing is I will be printing 2 photos on 1 4 by 6 photo. That's what I'm going to do. 2 wallets on 1 4 by 6 photo, and just cutting it down. But you can also, do a 4 by 4 photo. Okay, now you know the bigger your photo is, you know this, if you're a 2-page gal, the less you're going to get. But who says that you have to take a photo every single day in December? And that was my next point. Just because I'm going to be having 32 photos, that doesn't mean it's going to be 1 from each day. You can go that approach, or you simply can say, if I have 4 photos on this page and 4 on the next one, okay, 4 times 4, that's 16 photos for the month. That's more than most people do. Okay, so do not tell yourself you have to do wallet. You can do 4 by 4. Okay, you can even do 3 by 3, because I have those here too. Okay, so we'll talk more about that daily photo in just a minute. Okay, and these are 3 by 3s. Okay, you can absolutely do 3 by 3s. Okay, or you can do 3 by 3s and mix in a couple wallets. Okay, no wrong way to do your photos. It's how you scrap and how you want to do it, and how many photos you want to include. Okay, so don't get caught up in that trap. It has to be 1 photo per each day. No. Okay, I'm going to show one more option. Okay, and then that would be if you are a 4 by 6 gal. Okay, if you are a 4 by 6 gal, the simplest way to do this is probably you could do 2 this way and 1 this way, and maybe even when you wanted to stretch yourself and get a wallet in, you could do. Okay, but you're probably going to get about 3. A 4 by 6 on your spread. So 3 times 4, that would be 12 photos for the month. Okay, so when you're working on your photos and you're thinking about what you want to take, remember, it doesn't have to be on day 1, December 1, I need a photo. December 2nd, I need a photo. No, it's just recording December. It does not have to be 1 photo per day. Okay, you could absolutely use 7 photos from the same day. It's however you want to do it. Now with your photos, and I'll talk about that at the end, When we talk more about daily photos, we'll talk about that. I just wanted you to get a visual. The bigger the photo, the less you're going to get on your 4-page spread, okay? But hey, you can do what we're doing, and you can use 4x6, and you can do 4 2-page spreads. It's whatever you want to do. I'm just going to show you what I'm working on to do something quick and fun for this month. But remember, make this according to how you scrap and what you enjoy, and also to the photo size you use the most, okay? It can be whatever you want. You can mix and match one 4x6. You can get in a 4x4, do a couple 3x3, and then let's just do a couple wallet, okay? Now right there, that's 6 photos right there. Makes for nice, okay? So you can do it however you want. I will say one suggestion. The more complicated you make your photo size, the longer it will take you, okay? That's why I'm simply doing wallets the whole way across the board, okay? Because I've learned that because, well, I'll talk about that. That's another whole topic. But yes, the more different configurations you have in your photos, the longer it will take. And I think that's what happens when a lot of people do December daily. They're trying to reinvent the wheel every little mini page they're doing, and it gets very frustrating and very overwhelming very quickly, okay? So I will be doing wallet. Okay, now for your 8.5 by 11, of course, you know, we're only dealing with an 8.5 by 11 format. Okay, and I pulled this out for a sample. Okay, so again, you could work with wallets, and you're going to have to focus on getting 5 photos on here on this 8.5 by 11, okay? So if you want to do 8.5 by 11, which I know some of my lovely subscribers are 8.5 by 11 scrapbookers, yes. And so you're going to have to probably, if you want to do 5, remember 5 times 6 is 30, okay? You're going to have to do 5 photos, okay? And then you could also get an extra one in somewhere, okay? Or just do 30 and be done with it. It depends on your approach of photos. If you're going to take one per day, or you're just going to do a representation of your month of December. However you want to do that, there's no wrong way. But I wanted to show that visual, okay? That probably didn't show up when that white on white did it. No, well, let me just flip that. We have to give some love. I tell you what, I cannot stand that design. I'm not even going to go there, Janet. Just keep on going. Don't look at it. Don't look at it. Yeah, that's an ugly design. Okay, so, oh yeah, okay. So there would be 5 photos. And so if you're an 8.5 by 11 scrapbooker, you would repeat this 6 times. 6 times 5 is 30. And then you could get an extra one in, squeeze an extra one in on one of your pages. Okay, there you go. Okay, you could do that. Okay, now some people, when they do a December daily, they stop on Christmas Day, and because they're focused on the Christmas holiday. But we're going to absolutely go to the end of the month, okay? Because it's recording December, not just recording the holiday. Okay, so I think that's what I wanted to talk about that. Just remember, the bigger the photo, the more pages you may have to do if you want to do 31 photos. But we all know that. Okay, so now let's take a break there. And let me grab my paper. And we're going to come back, and we're absolutely going to work on cutting our photos. Cutting our photos, no. Cutting up our papers to make room for our photos. How's that? Yes. Okay. Now, I will pause there and take a drink. Calm down a little bit. Yes. Oh, full speed, baby. Okay, and so then we're going to play with these lovely papers. We're going to talk about our paper pad and just simply sit down and have some fun with a paper pad for a change. Yes, we're not going to be in a hurry. Okay, I will be right back. So let's play with our paper pad. Yes, and it seems like I've already had 3 phone calls. Some days, nobody wants to leave you alone. And then other days, when you want people to talk to you, nobody's around. Yes, okay. So as I was saying before a phone call, is that when I was deciding on my papers, I simply looked through my pad and I just thought, which one do I want to play with the most? Which one do I'm just itching to play with? And so that's what I did. So that's what I suggest. Look through your paper pad and just take a mental note of the ones you want to play with. Because how my page will be set up is that I'm simply going to do a couple blocks, okay, and we're going to talk about that coming up in our Go-To Design series, but it's going to be a couple blocks of pattern paper with a banner and a strip, very, very quick, because the focus is going to be on our photos, not the paper, but we want to play with some paper. Okay, so since I'm doing 4 pages, in essence, 2 2-page layouts, I knew that I wanted to have 2 pieces of paper. Now remember, I'm doing, right off the bat, I'm going to be working on my first 2-page spread. So I knew that I was going to need 4 papers for that 2-page spread, because what I'm going to do, and of course I love this deer. Yes, I'm absolutely going to, if you can visualize this, I'm going to have a mat with a mat, okay? And that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I knew I needed 2 for each page. And so there is my first spread right there. That's how quick this is going to be, okay? So then I knew I wanted to do a topper, and a strip, and a strip. And that is why I decided to go through the paper pad. And you know, in our paper pads, what do we have? We have these border strips. Well, ladies, we're going to play with them. Yes, we are. So I pulled both of them, okay? And then what we're going to do is then I want you to think about your next spread, okay? So now my next spread, I pulled 2 more papers, okay? And the 2 papers that I pulled is that I'm going to play with this red and black gingham check. And I will have a video list below where we talked about tartans versus plaids versus check, and why this one right here is so special and why it's such an influence today. Fascinating stuff. And so I knew this was going to be my second 2-page spread. And so this is what I'm going to play with. So of course I pulled, okay, that's going to be my second spread. So there's my second spread, just to give you a visual. And here's my first spread. So right there is already 12 pieces of paper, right? Would that be right? No, not 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 pieces of paper that I pulled from my paper pad really right off the bat. Is that not fun? So that is my first spread. There's my second spread. Okay, and then of course you know, and I simply put them in a pile. This is going to be my first page, my second page, my third page, and my fourth page. So I already know my papers, because accidentally you don't want to cut something in and cut into something you don't want to, okay? And then 2 pages of my border strips, because I'm going to need both pages, okay? Because whatever I do on the left, I'm going to do it on the right to make it easy for me. Now for embellishments, since I'm already playing with my paper pad, and of course here's my 4 cardstocks, okay? I have that. Now you don't have to do cardstock as your base. I'm only going to because I need something a little calm, because I'm using so much pattern, but you don't have to. So then, of course, on our paper pads, what do we have? We have cut aparts and cut aparts and cut aparts. Okay, so I pulled 1 of each. I don't need both of these from the paper pad, and I don't need both of these from the paper pad. I just pulled 1 and 1 to give me a variety. Now, will I be using these in this size? No, but I can cut out elements. I can use my punch. If I just wanted to do a sprig in this red glitter, I can just do that, or craft black. I can absolutely use some of these banners and things like that, or these little tags. But, you know, for layering, some cluster bases, that type of thing. Or if you just need a little bit of touch of something. I learned that from Laura Whitaker. So that, and absolutely, you can cut a few of these. Where did I see this? Right here. It says Merry Christmas this year. I could absolutely just cut out this one that says Merry Christmas and just use that as an embellishment, because I don't have any stickers and that type of thing. I'm using my paper pad. Now, in a lot of the Christmas paper pads, okay, there are countdown pages, okay? I pulled 1 of these because, again, I simply can use some of these for punches and things like that, my dies, or cluster bases, layering, anything you want to do, or in substitution of a photo. We'll talk about that. But another thing you can do is you can absolutely use these as headers for your page, and I wanted to show that option. I won't be doing that, but you know how I pulled this border strip right here, and I know on one of my page I'm going to be using, let me just see if I can show this quickly. You see where it says Merry Christmas right here, and then we go into the deer, and then we go into that silver strip. That's about a 1 and a 1.5 inch strip. So I'm going to use that, but you simply could use one of your countdowns as for your headers. Just cut them down a little bit, or leave them that size, completely up to you, because then you would get that decorative element of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or you could, it doesn't have to be in order, okay? You could absolutely, like this one here, this 11 through 15, I think that's so pretty. I could use that on my second page, and I could just cut right there and cut up in there. I might cut off a little bit of the horns, no big deal, but you could get a 1 inch strip out of these daily Advent countdown sheets. So Don't overlook that. There's so many different things you can do with this, okay? You can absolutely use this as a piece of pattern paper. You can absolutely cut these out as cut aparts. You can also leave them in this 12-inch size and use for border stickers, border strips, however you want to call that, okay? So don't be afraid to do that. I'm probably going to do a little bit of everything with that page. So again, this is my main embellishments. I'm going to play with these for my embellishments. Of course, you know, I have my little bins here. Who knows what we'll get playing with. But don't overlook these, and go ahead and pull them out from your paper pad so you won't have to look into your paper pad. You can just have them here. So that is what we are going to do. I'm going to put them to the side because we won't be doing that until the next video. Okay, what we're going to do this time is actually make our page. Okay, now if you're 8.5 by 11, hang on, because I'm going to show you a couple of different options when we go to do ours. Okay, and I have a couple note here. Okay, use very top border for, or, oh yes, okay, this is what I had a note here. When you're looking at these border strips, okay, and sometimes we overlook them because we don't know what we're going to do with them, but this time in this mini series we're going to use them. So you see this very, very top border, you can absolutely, remember I showed in these cut aparts, you absolutely can cut them apart. You don't have to use them in the size they were intended. I could use this Merry Christmas, or I can just use the word Merry here, or I can just use the word believe here, or I can simply cut out this little word as Noel and use that there, or absolutely Merry here. What was on here? Okay, absolutely can just cut out, instead it says Happy Holidays, I could just cut out holidays. I wouldn't need the whole thing. Same way with peace and joy, I could just use the word peace. You know, you just cut them down, that type of thing. And the same way with this border strip up here, and I know I'm not going to be using this one, so I absolutely can cut these apart as word stickers, okay? So don't forget to look at your border strips and also your cut aparts for extra embellishments for your pages. Okay, so that was what I note here. Okay, so now let's get cracking on my first spread, and my first spread will be these right here. Okay, and then whatever I do, I'm just going to do it twice. Okay, and of course here's my background, my base. You don't have to use cardstock. I'm just going to, because if you look, this is a lot of pattern and beautiful color right off the bat. And so if I put this up to my, you see how this just gives a little bit more of a little calming effect. Yes, I'm going to need this ivory cardstock to calm things down, because you know the month of December is busy already. I want to make my page not so busy. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so there's my 2 cardstock. And so when I'm doing something like this, sometimes I will cut, like I will put this here and this here, and I'll do one at a time. Or what I'll do is, since I'm working with exact measurements, I will make sure I cut my red paper at one time. Then I'll cut my check paper at one time. So it depends on how you want to do it, okay? And I'm sure that's not all in frame, but you get the idea. Now I just need to find my trimmer. Yes! Okay, so now let's start cutting up our papers and see how many phone calls we can get. Yes. Oh, yes. Okay, so here's my left, here's my right, and this is my first spread. So I'm going to work on cutting that. And one thing I'm going to list below is the measurements that I'm using, but certainly you can use any measurement you want to do your spreads. And so when I give measurements, I want you to remember how we classify an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. And so what do we say? 8.5 by 11. And so when I give the measurement 10.5 by 11.5, it will be this cut first and then this, okay? So just keep that in mind when I list the measurements below, okay? Because you don't want to make a mistake cutting paper, but if you do, no big deal. No. Okay, so my first paper is going to be 10.5 by 11.5, and that's going to be my bigger piece because I'm going to do a mat with a mat, okay? And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut this at 10.5, and again, I'll have that listed below. One thing I did want to say is that when you're cutting papers, and also when you're playing with a paper pad, sometimes paper pads will have mistakes in the pad, and that mistake will run throughout the pad. So if you notice that my buffalo plaid check here, my buffalo check. See, I have an imperfection, and it's on every one of those. So I know that's the side I want to be cut off. So that's one of those things, you know, don't be in such a hurry to cut, because that's what I do at times. And then I see imperfections, okay? Because a paper pad, sometimes we'll have that imperfection run the entire throughout the whole pad. So just keep, that's a little tip to keep in mind. And so I'm going to be cutting this at 10.5 and then 11.5. So 10.5. Okay, and then 11.5. Okay, now when I am working, see, and I already cut that imperfection off. Okay, so when I'm working on measurements and something I don't want to mess up, I will do everything in that measurement first. Okay, and so here I go again. I'm going to do that same 10.5 by 11.5. Okay, I will do all of those cuts from that same measurements first. It's just easier than try to go, you know, flip back and forth. Okay, so that is my 2 mats. And so if you want to get a visual, this will be going here. Okay. And then my red paper will be going on top of that. That's what we're going to do. Yes. Okay. And so now my red paper, I'm going to be cutting at 9.5 by 10.5. I'll get that out. Okay, so we're going to do that 9.5. And again, keep in mind when I give a measurement, 9.5 by 10.5, it's this 8.5 by 11.5. That's the order in which you do that. Okay, so we are doing 9.5. And let's just stop right there. Okay, so you saw in my buffalo check that pattern, no matter how you cut it, would be fine. But this is a pattern that if you, what I'm going to say is if you cut it too short, let me back up. If you have a directional piece of paper or design that makes a difference how you cut it, make sure you get a visual. Okay, this is what I want. I don't want this. Okay, so this, say I'm cutting 9.5 by 10.5. Say, okay, I got to make sure I'm cutting the right side first. Does that make sense? Okay, because if I cut my 10.5 first, I'd be cutting off too many deer. That probably made no sense. But if you have a directional piece of paper, pay attention to that. Okay, so 9.5 by 10.5. Okay, that's what we're going to do. Okay, okay, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do 9.5, and then we're going to keep all these pieces, absolutely, and then we're going to do 10.5. Now I'm left-handed, so some of my cuts probably look all wonky. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so let's get a visual as to what our 2 pages are going to look like right off the bat. Okay, so this is what I'm going to have for a mat on top of a mat. Okay, and you see I'm going right towards the offset method, and that's what I seem to do. Yes, okay, and the same way here. Okay, now if these mats are too big or too small, please adjust those numbers accordingly. Okay, but that's what I did. On this, I did 10.5 by 11.5. On this, I did 9.5 by 10.5. Okay, and so I can absolutely put these in the middle, just like that. But I'm doing a spread, so I'm going to do the offset method, which we talked about in our go-to design series. I'll have that talked below. And I could do more of a border down here. However, but we'll talk about that. Okay, but that's the basis of that. Okay. And so then now what we're going to talk about, and I think I have to go get the phone. Oh my. Oh, okay. So that is how simple this 2-page spread is already. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a banner up here. Now, if you don't want to do a banner, by all means, you can just forget that. But I'm going to do a banner, and this is going to be a quick banner. I love that already. Told you this was quick. Okay, so now let me get my banner, my border sticker here. Border strip piece of paper, and I'm going to need both of them. Yes. Okay, I'm going to need both of them. I got paper flying everywhere. You know, my hair's in a bun, having fun. Okay, and so I think what I'm going to do is, since I have deer here on this, I know I really want this as a header. Okay, and my banner for the top is going to be at about 1.5 inches. So I think I'm going to grab this right here. Okay, see this craft that says Holly Jolly Christmas Tree Deck the Halls? That would be a good intro to my recording December. So I'm going to start here with this craft, and I'm going to measure up 1.5 inches. And I believe that's what I had. Yes, 1.5 inches. Okay, again, you can make that measurement anything you want. So I'm going to cut along this edge right here and align this up. And this is why I like this Fiskars trimmer, because I have a wire guide right in there, and that tells me exactly where I'm cutting. And so I'm going to do that. Yes, cut very nice. And then I'm going to give a 1.5 inch cut. Okay, line that up. So what I did was I simply used this border strip, not in the way it was intended, because see, I cut that plaid here. I cut that up. Okay, and I'm going to do that twice. Okay, if you don't mind hanging on, I'll just keep on cutting, and I'll have a crafty lunch. Yes. Oh, don't you just love being creative and having things around you? Oh, I do. I never get tired of it. Okay. And then I am going to, and again, my top banner is 1.5, but you can cut that down or make it bigger. Totally up to you. Okay, so now I have 2. We'll get a visual here. We're going to have this run across, and I'll just do 1 page, because whatever I do on the left, I'm going to do for the right. Okay, and I'm going to have this running across my page. Okay, and that's what we're going to do here. Okay. Now this top banner may run across some of the paper you just cut. If you don't like that, then you certainly could cut it down. I liked how it just seemed like it was part of the paper. So, you know, part of the design. So, but you can certainly, if you don't want to cover up that much, you could cut your measurements down. I just did it because it was quick. Yes. Okay. But then also too, this banner, you can move up or move down. I'm getting things shifted everywhere. Goodness. Okay. But with these papers, you can play around. So with this design here, see, things are sliding. I can take this banner to the top, or I can slide it down, okay? And then along with these, I could take it to the top, or I could center it in between. I could put it in the middle, or I can do the offset. So I could simply just do it like this and put that in the middle. If that's not a beautiful page, I don't know what is. And then that banner can go top. Now, you know what we're doing. We're doing exactly what we did in our go-to designs. We're just playing with our papers. But what I'm going to do, since I'm doing a spread and I want things to be connected, I'm going to the inseam of this for the left. And of course, I'll do that on the right. Okay. And of course, I'll come back with mine adhered. And I will do an offset method for both of that. And then my piece, I think, I don't know. I might give a little bit of a top mat up there. Not sure. I think I like that. That might be what I do. Okay. Okay, so that is that. And again, here are the pieces for the right. Okay. Now I'm going to do one more cut, and then this page is completely done. I get to move on to the second layout. I told you this was quick, and all I did was use my paper pad. Look at that. Is that not pretty? Yes. Now again, this top piece, you can go to the top, you can bring it down, however you want to do it, or you can absolutely skip that top piece. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring out my border strips again. Told you we're going to play with these. I'm so excited. Janet, calm down. Calm down. I love when things come together. I'm like Mr. T on the A-Team. I love when a plan comes together. Yes. Okay. So now on my small band or border strip on the bottom, I'm going to do 3/4 of an inch. Okay. And so I'm absolutely going to use on my first spread. I think I had decided that I was going to use this pine cone. Yes. I think that's what I'm going to do. So what I'm going to do is simply, I'm just cutting my border strips, and I got a little bit of red there, so now I'm going to have to trim that up. Well, that looks cute too. I'm going to cut that little bit of red off. Yes, nice cut. Thank you, Fiskars. Okay, so I am going to get a 3/4 inch cut using 2 of these border strips again. Okay, and I could have pre-cut this and showed the final result, but I notice people like to see it being actually done. for the visual effects. So that's why I did it this time. Okay, so now there's one, and let me cut another one, and I get all this other stuff out of the road. I mean, look how much we're using already on these border strips that we often leave ignored. Yes, but we're going to play with them on this round. Okay, so, oh, see, I got that little strip again of red. So I'm going to cut a sliver so I don't want to see the red. And I do love my Fiskars trimmer. Okay, now I'm going to do 3/4 of an inch. And if it gets a little off, if it's under 3/4, over 3/4, no worries. It's your page. It's your layout. You get to be the decider on what happens and what doesn't happen on your page. Okay, so this is all I'm going to need for 2-page spread right here. Okay, and then this will absolutely, now on the border sticker, on the border strip, it showed it going this way, but that doesn't mean I have to use it this way. I think I like it this way. And I'm putting the silver down at the bottom. Okay, so this will be my spread here. Okay, now depending on where my photos will land, I may put this underneath. I don't know, I might put this at the very bottom. Yes, I think I may do that. Okay, so let's just play with the photos here. My photo mats, okay, and I know I'm going to do this, but I won't be adhering anything with these photo mats. And I'm going right to the edge here. I won't be doing anything with these. Okay, now I need to talk about a mat here in just a minute. Oh, now I like that. Look how that landed. Oh, I like that. Well, gee whiz. I'm getting excited. Okay. So I'm just playing around with my papers because I want to show you what the photos will look like. And then where I'm going to put that. I like that right there. Okay. Okay, now I will not be putting these down, okay? And you can absolutely take your photos to the inside of the seam and give you a very thin mat, and then your photos stay within this mat, or you can give them some space to breathe and extend those photos over, okay? If that made any sense, okay? Now, I will not be adhering my photo mats down now, because I don't know the orientations of my photos. I haven't taken them yet, okay? Today is just the first day, okay? So that is how this will look, okay? Just going to give you a visual here. That is how my 2-page spread is going to look. I mean, how simple. Simple, simple. And that is 16 photos, and that is half of my recording December, okay? Absolutely love that. And so what I will do is I will adhere these 3, well, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of paper. You know, I would adhere them down. And I wanted to share one more thing, and then I'll come back with that, and then we're going to work on the second page, because the second page is exactly like this, but I'll do some cutting, you know, just for a little bit of fun. But is that not nice? Yes, yes, yes. Okay. And we don't have to worry about where a title is going to go. We don't have to worry about embellishments, but I am going to talk about journaling here at the end. So, because if you want to keep that in the back of your mind too. So now with these mats, with this red deer on top of this buffalo check, I want to talk about this just for a minute, because you can simply leave them both at that size, or you can simply, you know where this is going to go, you can simply gut some of this if you want to use that for another layout or down the road or even on this, okay? Now, this is one of my favorite papers, so I definitely will come in here and I'm going to gut a little bit. The only thing I want to say about that is when you start to gut some things, it makes your background not as stable, okay? And then also, I mean, this is pretty sturdy for 3 pieces of paper. And then if you make a mistake gutting your paper, make sure you have a second piece. If you don't have a second piece, you're not too sure, maybe just leave it as it is and go forth, okay? We have lots of paper. But I may go ahead and gut some of this, okay? Because I certainly could use that, because I love that piece of paper. But I also have this cardstock for stability, okay? But if you do not have cardstock as a base, I would not suggest gutting this. Leave these piece of paper, even though you're I don't want to say wasting. You're using this and you're not seeing it, but you're using it for stability. So don't consider it wasted, okay? And so, but I may gut some of that, okay? Because it's beautiful. Tell me, who doesn't love that? Yes, love that. Okay, so I will adhere those down. That is how simple. And believe me, I chatted more than it took to do that. But that is the measurements. 10.5 by 11.5, and then 9.5 by 10.5. This is 1.5 inch, and this is 3/4. And again, I will have those linked below. But don't be afraid that you can make these however you want in size. You may want a smaller banner at the top. You may want a bigger banner at the bottom. Or you may only want to use one of these. Okay? You don't have to do a double mat. There's nothing wrong with that either. Okay? You don't have to use. I just did a double mat because I wanted to play with my paper pad. Okay, so I will pause there and I will come back and I will show you what that looks adhered. Okay, and then we're going to start on our second page. Okay, so hang on. I will be right back. And I hope you're playing along. Yes, and please share below what paper pads you're using for this little mini series. I love to know that. Okay, hang on. I'll be back. Okay, I am back with adhering my first 2-page spread, and I really should have just left the camera on because it honestly didn't even take but a couple minutes, and I didn't even have to break out my T-square. Can you believe that? Because if you look at my bigger mat, I took it clear to the inseam, and then my smaller mat, I did an offset, but I did it down here at the bottom, and so I did a little bit of both. And also too, my mat that was on the back, I absolutely rotated it. So I did a rotate and an insert or an offset. So yes, we talked about that in our go-to design series, that when you're playing with papers, it's okay simply to rotate them into a different orientation and also to offset, just play with them. And so then I absolutely just took my 1.5 inch topper and I just lined it up to the very top of this piece of paper right here. Now I will leave all these flaps up because I do a lot of tucking and things like that when I get to playing. And then my 3/4 inch just clearly went down here at the bottom, and I followed along the same seam as my outside mat. So easy. Love how it turned out. So even though we cut those at 10.5 and 11.5 and then a 9.5 by 10.5, don't be afraid to play with those. You can absolutely even cut them down even smaller if you want. And there was something else I wanted to say, and I'm going to get to 8.5 by 11 girls in just a minute, so hang on there. But this is what we have left over. I mean, still, we have this from that border strip pages, and we're going to play with them on the next page, but did we not give that a go already? Now, let's talk about just for a minute what the photos will look like here, because I was doing some editing, and I wanted to stress something, that if you, because I'm going to play right here, okay, and so my plan is to do 8 photos here, okay. And you can see that even with this mat to cut down, I still have plenty of room to accommodate for 8 photos per page if I wish to, okay? And I can keep these photos on the mat, or I can just keep slide them off, however you want to do it. You don't even have to keep them linear. You can keep them cattywampus, okay? And so then I could do this or this, however I want to do it, okay? Now, with that being said, that's 8. But if I think that's too many, you certainly can just get rid of a couple, okay? You can get rid of more than a couple. It's up to you how many photos you want to do, and also, too, what size they are. Okay, but even though I'm doing this, let's see, 4 pages, that doesn't mean I have to do 8 photos. You can absolutely do wallets. You don't have to do 8. You can do what an 8.5 by 11 girl is going to do and use 5 if you want to. So I just wanted to reiterate that, and you don't even have to do 2 pages. You can have, or 2 spreads. You can just simply do this right here. Let's just play, right? Okay. You could just do this 2-page right here for a Christmas page and call it done. Right, there's 10 photos on a 2-page spread. That is beautiful. And what did we do? We simply, what did I do with it? Hang on a minute. We simply played with our paper pad. That's all we simply did. Okay, look how pretty this is. And we haven't even added any embellishments yet. We haven't even added a title. That really could act as your title if you wanted to. Okay, so I just wanted to show that in our paper pad party. And I also wanted to mention, just because I'm using 8, or maybe down the road I'll get 8 on here and I'll be like, no, sorry, excuse me. Oh, wow, need a drink. I may say, no, I don't think I want to do 8. It's okay. Or if you say, oh, I want to do 10 on each one, just keep making your photos smaller or larger to accommodate what you want. There are no rules. No. Okay, now let's talk about 8.5 by 11 gals, and I should have brought a drink. Wow, may have to do a pause. Okay, and don't worry about some of these. If they're flapping up, you can always adhere them later once we get to playing. And then also too, you know, if you've been a scrapbooker for any length of time, even a month, you'll know that when you cut something 12 inches, it never matches up. And so when I did my top banner here, you can see right there, see, it doesn't match 12 inches. So I always say when you're working on a spread and you have something that's short, do that short measurement on the inside of the seam right here. And why is that? Because when you put it in an album, no one's going to see this shortness because you already have a break in the action because of your 3-ring binder or your post bind, things like that. So if you're going to have something short and not match up, which you can see both of these right here, they don't match up. Do that on this seam, not over here. Okay, because you will not notice it here. Okay, that's just a trick. Okay, so 2-page gal, or no, 8.5 by 11 gals. Let's talk to you for a minute because we have to include our 8.5 by 11 gals. Okay, so you know with the measurements that I gave, the 12 by 12, well, that won't suit you. No, so I wanted to show something that if you're an 8.5 by 11 gal, what measurements would you use if you wanted to follow along this same format? And I had a couple other things here. Oh, let me just find them. If you wanted to, okay, I gotta find one more. Hang on there. Okay, so back to the 8.5 by 11 gals. What you simply can do is that if you wanted to do the same format, I wanted to show visually what that would look like. And so this is the measurements that I would use along with the same thing I just did. If you want to, you don't have to. I'm just giving measurements. Okay, so this is your 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. Okay, and then your outer mat would be 8 by 9.5. Okay, 8 by 9.5, and then your inner mat, or your, you know, your top mat, that would be 7 by 8.5 if you wanted to do it that way. And I will have that listed below. And again, you can do the same thing I did, is that you can bring that to the inseam. You can take this smaller mat and bring it to the offset down here, and then you can play with your, that's exactly how I did mine right there. That's exactly how I did it. Okay, so that is how you can do it if you want to do an 8.5 by 11 spread. And of course, you know, it depends on how many photos too. Okay, now with the top piece, I did 1.5, but this would be a 1 by 8.5. Okay, and then this would just be a 1/2 inch. Okay, so half of that. Okay, if you wanted to do that. And so I'll put that here. So that again is 1 by 8.5. Of course, you know, 8.5 by 11, you're used to that. Okay, and then you can play with these two mats however you want to do. And I, instead of using 3/4, I would do the 1/2. Okay, that'll give you more format on your page here. Now with your photos, and I will have these measurements listed below. For the photos, you can absolutely, again, play with your 5 if you want, or just do a couple 4 by 6, whatever format you want to play with. You just go and have fun. Okay, but I wanted to show those measurements and what they would look like if you wanted to do 8.5 by 11. Okay, I wanted to show that. So again, this outer mat was 8 by 9.5. And this smaller mat was 7 by 8.5. This is 1 inch by 8.5, and this is a 1/2 inch. Okay, by 8.5. Okay, but you probably know that because everything's 8.5 in your world. Okay, and so that's what that would look like. Again, play around with your photos, and if you are an 8.5 by 11 gal, you're pretty much probably set on the size of photos you use because your format is much smaller. So play with that and do whatever you want to do. But I wanted to give those measurements, and I will have those listed below. Okay, and so that is that. Okay, so now let's get started on the next 2-page spread, which I already love this already. Yes, I mean, okay, now let's just talk about it a minute, because some gals had said when during the part 1, they said, could you absolutely do this formula? That's just what we'll call it. And could you do this for past Christmas layouts? Yes. And you could also do this for, you don't even have to use Christmas paper. You could use this for anything. And then when you have Christmas past or any holiday or any event, you can print your photos. You know, you don't even have to do a 4-page spread. You see what I'm saying? You can play with your photos, and you can work on past Christmas layouts. Okay, you can even have some span across. Okay, and I'm just playing. You know how I like to play. And so you could span them across, and you could, right there is 5. Okay, Very, very pretty. Okay. Or this would be a nice lead-in page. Okay. You could put a title up here and journaling down here, and then you could play with that. That would be 5 photos for a 2-page spread. And you could absolutely, you know, do this for, it doesn't have to be a Christmas layout. It can be for anything. You can just use this back formula for anything. I mean, honestly, you could do this so many times and never tire of it. I'm just playing with your paper pad. Okay. So yes, you can use this 2-page format for past Christmases. You can use it for smaller photo, bigger photos, or you can absolutely pull out a beach paper pad and work on some beach photos. Yes, okay. It doesn't get old. Okay, this is just a Christmas round, you know, Christmas fun with the paper pad party. So now we're going to get playing with the next, and I will go ahead and start doing my cutting. And probably, so this video won't get so long, I'm just going to simply go ahead and cut these in the same measurements I did before, which would be, I'm double checking, and I will be cutting, this is going to be my bigger mat, this is going to be my smaller mat. It's going to look like this on my page. And so this will be 10.5 by 11.5, and this will be 9.5 by 10.5. So I will cut them, and I will play with my border strips right here, and I will come back, and we will have those 4 pages done. Yes, and so we will, there's December, right? Absolutely. Okay, hang on. I will be back. Okay, sorry for the stopping and starting, but real life, right? Okay, hang on. Okay, I am back with my second 2-page spread for my recording December. And guess what? Right here and right there, my whole project's done. I mean, it honestly didn't take very long. I spent more time watching YouTube videos than I did, but it was fun playing, okay? And if you like 2-page layouts, I suggest you go visit Lisa Brooks. I will have her YouTube channel linked below. That's all she does is 2-page spreads. So that's what I was watching. I was watching Lisa as I was doing this. So fun. I wanted to show one other thing. When we were talking about our go-to designs and we were talking about grids, remember, when you're doing something like this, you can absolutely put your photos in a grid. There's so many options, okay? It really is just what you want, okay? You can do your photos in a grid, and here's 6. That makes for a very nice design, very nice page, because we're going to talk about journaling here, okay? Because you can do your journaling in many different ways, okay? So here is... And I love this. I may end up going with this design. I need to snap a photo of that, okay? So you could absolutely do that, okay? Bring them in, match them up, not match them up. You can even go cattywampus a little bit, okay? How am I doing that? Alternating the height of these, okay? Having fun with that. Or you can just simply go linear and do it as sporadic or as linear as you wish. Okay, I wanted to show that option because you can do your photos however you want to do it. There is no wrong way. And again, this showcases all your papers you did. Okay, now with that, remember I will have the sizes of my mats listed below, but that doesn't mean you have to do it that size. You can make it any size you want. You can go with 1 piece of paper, 2 pieces of paper. It doesn't matter, because some people would say, well, this paper in the back you don't really see a lot of. No worries, I have a lot of paper, and that's the beauty of playing with a paper pad. There's lots of options. You don't have to feel guilty about using a piece of paper. Okay, so now let's talk about journaling. So with your journaling, because remember we're going to be doing 4 pages, you can absolutely journal according to the photos you have on the left. You can come over here on the right page and journal with what you have here on the right, or you can simply just do one big block of journaling for those whole 2 days, or what would that be, almost 2 weeks, right? So yes, so you could just come over here and do one big block of journaling, and that would cover these 14-15 days, however you want to do it, half the month. Or if you're just doing a 2-page spread, okay, you can come over here and do a big journaling block, or a journaling block over here, put a title here, journaling block over here. Or you can absolutely take one of the photos away and you could put, let's just say this is your journaling block, okay, you could put your journaling here. Okay, so that's how you can do that. Okay, so but then what also you can do, since this is kind of like a December daily, if you want to take that approach, is that you can find little numbers in your stash or your collection, your inventory, and you would need numbers 1 to 31 if you're doing it that way, and you would put a little number in each one of your photos when you're done. And you can go this way across, or you can do it in this way. However you want to do it, no wrong way. And say if you numbered these photos 1 through 6, you would come over here and journal. Number 1, we went to visit Santa. 2, we decorated a tree. 3, we went to visit Grandma, that type type of thing. And then come over here, you would rinse and repeat. Or what you can simply do is not number your photos. And I'm not going to number mine, because what I'm going to do is through the month of December, I'm just going to jot down what I did for the month. And then what I'm going to do is my photos will not be in any order whatsoever. None. They can be, this photo here, it could be absolutely from day one, and this photo over here could be from day one. I'm not going to keep them in order. That's not the purpose of my recording December, okay? And so what I wanted to say with that is, if you're not too sure about journaling, the only thing I want to urge you to do is to keep a running list, because at the end I'm going to show you how I'm going to do mine, and if you would just keep these notes, then you maybe would want to do the same thing. So just keep your notes, even if you're not a big journaler. If you don't journal a lot on your pages, at least write down at least one sentence you do every day. Just something, whatever it is, or something you're thankful for, or something you bought, or shopping, or cooking, or eating, whatever, just something. But I urge you to make some notes, and I'll show you what I'm going to do with mine at the end when we have our 31 days done. Okay, so I think that is what I wanted to say, other than, remember, you can take one photo a day, or you can take 5 photos a day. There is no wrong way to do this, okay? And again, get a pretty little notebook out. You know, we're going to need notes for who we're buying gifts for, and if they're wrapped and that type of thing anyway. So I want you to take a couple pages and make some notes. Do some journaling, okay? Practice your handwriting as you're doing that. You know what I do is that I simply make myself slow down, and then I try to write, practice my handwriting. Okay, so I think that is all I have for this portion of Recording December. Now, when we come back in a week, 7 days will have passed, and so on the 8th of December, we will come back and we will have our 7 photos, and we're going to play with probably one of our pages. That's probably what we're going to do, and then maybe get a feel for some embellishment. Play around with that, okay? And I hope you're playing along, and photo ideas. Okay, in our thread here in the comment section below, if you want to list some of the photos you're taking during the month, please list that, and because that gives ideas to other people, because some people struggle with what to take photos of for the month, okay? And so I will always just keep putting on, whenever I think of some, I'll just list some, because I'm always thinking of photos to take. Okay, so I think that's all I have. I hope this video didn't get too long, and I hope you're playing along. And then I was supposed to remind Kim, okay, to not get so mesmerized and to keep working along as she's watching the video. So Kim, there was your reminder to don't just watch, be creating at the same time. And Martha had made a comment that how exciting it is to do something like this when you know a group is doing it. And I have to agree with Martha 100%. Just today, I'm getting into the Christmas spirit, into the mood, into the excitement, all because of the excitement that you gals have showed me. So thank you for that. I really, really appreciate it. And look, I have my Recording December project done. Now the hard work's done. Honestly, didn't take very long. No. Okay. And so that's all I have for today for Paper Pad Party Time, Recording December. So come back in about a week and we will continue this process. Okay, that's all I have for today. Come back to RTS, because you never know what we're going to learn. Bye.